It's got to clearly depend on how bad the shot is, though. Because if you get fouled and knocked unconscious and then you come back,
you're just going to get knocked out.
Yeah.
If you get knocked out, that's why boxing, right?
That right, and that sudden, quick, violent rotation of the head is going to transmit a lot of rotational force, not only through the brain, but also through the brainstem, absolutely leading to possibility of a concussion. Thankfully, it didn't completely knock him out, but could absolutely result in some delayed symptoms.
A big part of it is speed. Anthony Joshua has that kind of speed.
Joe Rogan reacted to Jake Paul being taken to the hospital after his knockout loss to Anthony Joshua. While discussing the incident alongside Daniel Cormier, Rogan focused on how destructive the punch appeared and once again stressed that boxing is a brutally dangerous sport. He explained that when fighters are hit cleanly at the highest level, the consequences can be serious and long-term. Rogan emphasized that boxing is unpredictable by nature and that blows like this can cause permanent damage that fighters may carry.
Cold.
He was
and then
done.
He outboxed him for the rest of the round.
How? But again, in MMA, fight probably would have been over, and he would have took less damage.
Right, but isn't that a better...
Sports physician Brian Sutter offered a calm, medically focused breakdown of the aftermath. He said that while the result of the fight itself was mostly expected, the real concern began when Jake Paul admitted he feared his jaw was broken. According to Sutter, a jaw fracture was entirely possible based on how Anthony Joshua's right hand landed flush on the left side of Jake's face. However, he pointed out that a concussion was actually the greater concern. Jaw injuries often become secondary to more serious risks involving the brain, neck, or airway. Sutter explained that the sudden and violent rotation of Jake's head likely sent significant rotational force through the brain and brainstem, increasing the risk of concussion. Even though Jake was not completely knocked out, delayed symptoms were still possible. Jake's immediate reaction and visible shock suggested that he knew
the outcome that we all expected. After the fight, though, Jake told Ariel Helwani that he was worried that he had broke his jaw. He said multiple times he was concerned that he had a fractured jaw. And certainly looking at this knockout punch that Anthony Joshua delivers, it is absolutely a possibility that Jake does in fact have a jaw fracture. I'd honestly be more concerned about a concussion. In fact, with most jaw fractures, the more important thing initially is to look for other injuries to the head, to the neck, to the airway. The jaw fracture potentially being there or not is going to be lower on the list often than whether there's damage to the airway, damage to the head. And so very possible to have a concussion or some residual symptoms from this, as Jake Paul's head is relatively still here. We see AJ comes in with that right, and that sudden, quick, violent rotation of the head is going to transmit a lot of rotational force, not only through the brain, but also through the brainstem, absolutely leading to possibility of a concussion. Thankfully, it didn't completely knock him out, but could absolutely result in some delayed symptoms. But you can see where the punch comes in, landing square on that left side of Paul's face. Jake's reaction was pretty telling too. Right away after it, we could see him going down on the canvas here and being very shocked. It doesn't look like there's any obvious deformity to the jaw. We won't necessarily always see a deformity to the jaw, but you could tell he clearly had realized that something serious had happened there and feeling the full power of AJ's right. And finally, on this last view, we can see a little bit better the exact location where the punch comes in. We'll talk about our jaw anatomy, the different areas of the bones, but your temporomandibular joint, where your jaw articulates with the rest of your skull, is sitting right around in this area, and the jaw is roughly coming down in this orientation. And so where that punch comes in from Joshua is a little bit more kind of flush right in the center of the mandible, but also up close near.
Joe Rogan had already predicted before the fight that things would not end well for Jake Paul. He explained that Jake was used to facing older or retired opponents, but this time he stepped in with one of the best heavyweights in the world. Rogan warned that the difference in level would be harsh and unfair.
You think about Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua?
Boy. Well, realistically, it's one of the craziest propositions of all time. You take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the heavyweight division. Maybe we should watch the Francis Ngannou fight. So you could see, let's watch that real quick, just so you can see what Anthony Joshua is capable if he's fighting someone that's not in his league. Okay, look, Usyk beat him, and he beat him twice, and Andy Ruiz caught him in the first fight and dropped him and stopped him.
The aftermath of Jake Paul facing Anthony Joshua sparked widespread reactions across the boxing world. While some fans praised Jake for his bravery and willingness to take such A dangerous fight, many respected voices in boxing strongly push back against that narrative. Luke Thomas was one of the most vocal critics, saying the praise was wildly exaggerated. According to Thomas, people were applauding Jake simply for surviving rather than actually competing. He pointed out that Joshua did not fight at full intensity and deliberately held back punches from Thomas's point of view. This was not a competitive boxing match, but a controlled situation, where a top-level heavyweight showed restraint. Jake's performance did not reflect noticeable skill growth, tactical awareness, or meaningful progress. Instead, Thomas argued that Jake looked overwhelmed for most of the fight, struggled to engage effectively.
Initially watched the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight. I think I would say that my conclusions now still match most of what I said when I was watching on the initial broadcast, which is that Joshua, he did look a little rusty to me. I'm sorry, but he did. That Jake is, probably a little bit better than we suggested he might be. When I say we, I mean like the hardcore fight community, the fight fans, the people who work in the industry to a degree. Sometimes there is a suggestion that he can't do anything. And I would be like, wow, that's a little much. He can do stuff. I mean, it's limited what he can do. It's very limited what he can do. But there is a little bit too much anger towards him sometimes, or just dismissiveness, maybe is a better way to put that. And I don't really co-sign on some of that. He's got some ability. He's not good. Listen to me very carefully. He's not good. But is he the caricature that he is sometimes made out to be in terms of his pure boxing skill? I think it goes a little overboard sometimes. But that isn't the reason why I wanted to make this video. What I wanted to make this video about is two things. One, after the fight was over, I got on social media and people were like hugely negative about the fight. And I did not think that the fight was good. In fact, I thought the fight was, like most Jake Paul fights, pretty bad, although him surviving kind of feeds into the story of him being perhaps a little bit better than we sometimes think, although I don't really co-sign on that. Let me make the point. The first point is, I think people are overreacting a little bit. People were suggesting when I got on social media that this was like the biggest farce they'd ever seen in their life, and that this was, how could he fight like this, and this was a disaster, and Joshua should have got him out there earlier. There is probably some evidence to suggest that I don't think Joshua was carrying him in the sense of, hey, they coordinated this ahead of time. But was Joshua really stepping on the gas? No, I don't think he was really stepping on the gas. There were times I think he clearly pulled.
Lawrence Owaki approached the situation from a different angle, but reached a similar conclusion. He focused on the inherent danger of boxing, explaining that a single mistake can end a fight instantly regardless of fame or preparation. From his perspective, Jake Paul stepping into the ring with someone like Anthony Joshua was reckless. He stressed that boxing is unforgiving, and that mismatches are not justified simply because they generate attention. He described the decision to take the fight as unnecessary and foolish, noting how easily the outcome could have been far worse. Despite the heavy criticism, some voices acknowledged Jake Paul's willingness to take punishment and continue. After the fight, reports confirmed that Jake was hospitalized with a serious jaw injury. Some commentators viewed this as a sign of toughness, arguing that regardless of the performance, Jake showed courage by stepping into the ring with a fighter of Joshua's caliber. These reactions focus more on resilience than technique. However, even among those offering limited praise, few were willing to call Jake a legitimate professional boxer. The narrative centered on bravery rather than ability. In boxing, absorbing punishment is respected, but it is not enough on its own. Courage without competitiveness does not change a fighter's standing. While Jake's injury highlighted the physical cost of the decision,
go to the hospital. I think I broke my jaw. We all know he broke his jaw. We all know we seen the x-ray. There is a video of the x-ray that he showed us on his Instagram. So that was no AI. And it showed where his jaw had to be reconstructed and, wired, right? So he can't have any hard foods for a while. And again, I think Jake Paul is going to get respect for that, because it's one thing, because we all know about Jake. I think the problem with Jake was he was bullshitting us by giving us fights that we didn't want to see, for one, and for two, wasn't giving us fights most of the time of the people that could beat him. He gave us Tommy Fury, and then Tommy Fury actually beat him, which, whatever, but he did drop Tommy Fury with a left hook, so that was an impressive thing he did against the guy. Well, can't say the only guy now, because AJ fought him and knocked him out. But, you know, other than that, though, fighting Mike Tyson, Anderson Silva, which Anderson Silva showed that he is still very dangerous and very, very ready at 50 years old. You know what I mean? Like, what he did to Tyron Woodley was classic Anderson Silva. You know, he picked his shots. You know what I mean? He moved with grace. He moved with wisdom, and he knew exactly what to do. And again, he should have went over to boxing a long time ago, but Jake beat him. So that just made Jake's, you know, stock rise, right? In the sense of, hey, well, he beat Anderson Silva.
Adam Catterall was particularly blunt in his assessment. He criticized the role of popularity in modern boxing and argued that Jake Paul is a product of that imbalance. According to Catterall, Anthony Joshua did not even throw punches at full power and still caused serious damage, highlighting the massive gap between the two fighters. He stressed that if Joshua had fully committed to his shots, the outcome could have been far more severe. Catterall's broader criticism focused on the direction of the sport itself. He argued that boxing increasingly rewards fame over merit, leaving fighters who grind through the rankings overlooked, while internet personalities receive major opportunities. For Catterall, this fight symbolized everything wrong with that trend. Jake Paul's involvement was not impressive, but rather evidence of a system that prioritizes attention over sporting integrity.